Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I want to welcome you all to Jesu Church, the Jesuit parish here in the city of Detroit. Welcome to everyone, and we're so happy to be able to host the beloved community here and to for this annual Martin Luther King presentation. And I'm mindful that as we live in the world that we do, in the country that we do, um, we have a lot of work to do and a lot more freedoms to pursue and justice to continue to um, to pursue as well, and to be open and to pursue peace and to work for peace and justice. So it's so appropriate, and I'm grateful um, to you all for coming out on such a cold night and continuing the good work of Martin Luther King Jr. and those civil rights leaders that continue to inspire us and whose voices are still relevant, especially today. So thank you so much for coming out on such a cold night. You have earned a place in heaven. So thank you. Um, I'd like to also, just for those who are not familiar with Jesu, we do have bathrooms, and they're right through the exit door there, and you just go straight. There's a number of bathrooms, and I've just built some brand new ones, so check them out. All right, and they're up the little stairs there. So you're all welcome to utilize the space and make this your home this evening. So thank you. So I'm going to invite Tyrone to come forward. We'll introduce Pastor Barry. And Pastor Barry, I'm grateful for your willingness to come out on a night like this and to preach, but also to stir up in us uh, um, the spirit to continue the work that needs to be done in our world, in our country, in our community. So thank you so much, both of you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Ooh, awesome task here. As he said, my name is Tyrone, Brother Tyrone, member of Historic. Or it needs to be closer. Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Right. Um, my church is Historic King Solomon Missionary Baptist Church. I met Reverend Barry some time ago, and I was just sharing with him tonight that I just instantly knew that our paths were going to be parallel because he's about God's work. And that's what I try to be about as well. So I'm just so happy and blessed to know him. And he knows that if he ever needs me, all he's got to do is just dial those 7 numbers and I'll be there no matter what. Um, very quickly, I was trained and brought up in a Baptist church. So one of the things that I learned at a very early age was when asked to do something, you get up, you stand up, you speak up, and then you sit down. So I won't draw this out. Introduction from Pastor Barry, and excuse me for a second. Let's go back. I'd like for you to acknowledge him in the work that he does and to accept Pastor Barry and all the good that he does and to embrace him. And I'm hoping this isn't a one-off type of deal where we get together this time and then we all go our separate ways, because this is really going to take some organization. And I want to share this real quickly with you. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, I was probably about 21 or 22 years old. I was still in the military at the time, and I was actually AWOL because I got shot in Vietnam. By all rights, I should never have been able to even make it this far or that far. So, being AWOL, because I was just totally disenchanted with the system, and I was actually on my way back to Fort Benning, Georgia, to face the music. We got to about Cleveland when we made a stop, and I was watching a TV monitor, and they mentioned that Dr. King had been assassinated. And at that point, I literally took my ticket and sold it back to them and came back home because I was so traumatized. I mean, this is my history, and I'm sharing this with you so that you know that I still deal with sensitivities around that, and to realize that it happened. But then they crucified Christ, so why would we be any different? But at this time, as we go further, I'd like to bring up Pastor Barry, and he will take it from there in his own way.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I got this, so. Okay. I'm kind of not used to a lapel. Oh, that's nice and loud. Yes. Okay. So, hello to everybody who is here and to everybody online. And I agree, it is so cold outside that you have to be brave or dedicated to come out to something like this. So, my name is Barry Randolph, and I'm the priest and pastor of Church of the Messiah in Detroit. Church of the Messiah is a 151-year-old Episcopal church on the east side of Detroit in a neighborhood called Island View. So it's right near Belle Isle, about a block and a half from Belle Isle. Let me first say, I'm going to need y'all help because they told me this event is 2 hours. I preach maximum 15 minutes. So it's going to be funny to be able to talk this long. And I'm so glad to see Dan and Vicky, who were former members of Messiah when I got there in 1991. So it's good. Y'all egged me on here and helped me out. I'm not used to talking for a long time, but I will give you something really, really effective. So let me say that first and foremost, let me give you my background. I never planned on being a preacher. That was not my agenda. That was not my goal. I never wanted to be able to do that. As a matter of fact, I did not particularly care for preachers, and I definitely did not even like church. I wound up coming to Church of the Messiah because my mother called me one day after I had not been to church for a few years. She said, "I want you to come hear me speak at Messiah." And I'm like, okay. They let you speak because the church I went to, women couldn't talk in church. That was one of the reasons why I left, because I was thinking to myself, the Almighty God cannot be a sexist. So I went and I heard her speak, and she was amazing. But I had never been to an Episcopal church in my life. I used to be Baptist, and we were loud. And I'm in the church, and I'm applauding her, and I'm saying amen, and the people turning around like, will you be quiet? And I'm thinking, okay, this is a different type of church. They're a little bit more quiet. And she said, how did you like the church? And I said, I liked you, but I did not particularly care for the service. It was a little bit dry for me. I'm sure I I knew I wouldn't go back. A couple months later, my sister called me and she said, hey, we need somebody to teach the kids. Can you be one of the tutors? I said, do I have to be a member? She said, no. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And I went and met the most incredible people. Dan and Vicky was there, Father Ron, who was the priest there. I met so many incredible people, and Father Ron would say, Barry, we'll see you on Sunday. And I'm like, no, you won't. I have no intention of coming back here. And then he kept telling me, and I'm like, let me make this man shut up, and let me go ahead and go to church. And I went. And then I began to get it. And Father Ron style, he just put me up in the middle of the congregation because he knew I hated the prayers of the people. I thought that was so boring. So he made me get up and do it. And it was not boring that day, so I kind of got it that day. Never planned on joining the church, being a part of the church, but wound up being a part of that. Part of the reason I did not mind being part of Church of the Messiah was because they put their action where their mouth was. They believed in doing work in the community. And when I got there, they were doing a lot of work with children. They were building houses. They were doing so many incredible things. And I'm like, well, I definitely believe in doing the work, but I did not ever expect to be an Episcopal priest. So I kept coming to the church. And right around 1998, I got there in 1991. And right around 1998, things began to change. Now, what was so strange is as I got more involved in the church, everybody was leaving. Everybody was leaving. Yes, you all left. Everybody left. The rector retired, and the people began to leave, the people who were running the ministries. And I'm like, okay, God, you got a weird sense of humor. I don't go to church. Now I'm going, and everybody's leaving. Why am I going to a church where everybody's leaving? Lo and behold, I did not know what God's plan was. In 1998, on October 20th, I was born October 19th. October 20th, I literally had a burning bush experience from God. And it literally was a burning bush experience where God literally spoke to me, told me what it was he wanted me to do, told me to go into the priesthood, told me to do work at Church of the Messiah. That's how I wound up becoming a preacher. It took an act of God, because I never would have volunteered to do it, because business was my thing. And lo and behold, Church of the Messiah is an incredible church. So let me tell you just a little bit of what we do, so you kind of get an understanding why social justice and the life of Dr. King means so much. The history of the church is amazing, powerful, incredible people. Church of the Messiah started a housing corporation. And over the years, it has built or rehabbed over 200 units of affordable housing. Right now, we own 79 vacant lots. So we believe you cannot gentrify a neighborhood if you own it. So the church owns a lot of the property in the neighborhood. We're also currently the internet provider. You got Comcast, AT&T, and Church of the Messiah. We provide internet just like them, and we took Ray Ray and Pookie out of the neighborhood, taught them how to install the internet, and they literally run the internet system at the church. We have a business incubation center. Well, if you have a good idea, we can help you get that business off the ground. We also have an employment office. We do workforce development. We have a solar powered charging station in our parking lot on one side and an EV charging station on the other side. We also have a community garden called the Garden of Eden. We also have inside the church a doctor's office. So you can literally come to Church of the Messiah and you can rent an apartment, get a job, start a business, charge a car, charge your cell phone, see a doctor, and get your God on, all in the same place. So that's the work that we do in the community and neighborhood. Now, one of the things, when I became a priest and a preacher, one of the people I admired most is, of course, Dr. King. If you go into what used to be my office, and we call it the war room. So the church has a war room where we really go to war against poverty, illiteracy, homelessness, apathy, all of that. There's a giant picture of Dr. King. It's a giant picture on this little bitty wall, so as soon as you walk in, you would stop and think, why is that giant picture of Dr. King on that little bitty wall? That picture was there to always remind me that when I walked in my office, what my responsibility and obligation was to literally walk in the footsteps of Dr. King, understanding, knowing that I have to pick up my cross, and the people of Messiah, we have to pick up our cross and we have to follow him. We have to follow God. And that's what Dr. King did. When I was a little boy, and I'm 63 years old, I'll be 64 this year, and I know I still look good, even though I ain't got no hair. But I remember being a little boy, and I was 6 years old when Dr. King died. And I remember when he died, because my house was turned upside down. I have 11 brothers and sisters. I'm number 11 of 12. So I'm at the very end. And I watched my older brothers, in particular, my mother, and a few other people. The house was a little bit in turmoil when Dr. King died. And I remember my brothers telling me, and I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And they said, we got to go out. We have to do things. And I remember them going to protest and doing all this other stuff. They said, we're doing this so when you grow up, you won't have to. Okay. They went out, they did their thing. And I remember something was wrong. I remember my mother was on her knees and she was praying, and I didn't quite understand the magnitude of what was going on and what was happening. But that image stays in my mind to this day. And every time I walked into my office and I looked on the wall and I would see Dr. King, and I'm like, if I could remotely make a difference and take my job seriously and understand more than a job, this is a call, and we are called to do the work of God in this world. Now, I don't know if y'all know this about Dr. King, but did y'all know he was not born Martin Luther King? He was born Michael King. And I just thought that was so amazing. And his father wound up going over to Germany, and then he learned about Martin Luther and the work that Martin Luther was doing in the church, and how Martin Luther stood for what he thought was the right thing to do when he was in the Catholic Church. And that's really how, of course, the Lutheran Church was formed. Dr. King's father was so impressed with that, he decided to change his name from Michael to Martin Luther. And he changed his name to Martin Luther, and Martin Luther King, who was then Michael King, I think he was around 5 years old, he changed his name from Michael to Martin and made him Martin Luther King Jr. So he got that name at about 5 years old. And when I thought about that, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that about Dr. King. It made me think about how so many times biblically God will change your name. You have an encounter and he will give you another name because you're about to go on a mission. I just thought that was so incredibly powerful what Martin Luther King's father did by changing his name, being so impressed by the work of Martin Luther, not even knowing that his son was going to grow up and be this great revolutionary. One of the greatest things, too, that I think about when I think about Dr. King and the civil rights movement, you know, a lot of times when you move because God is calling you to move, you have no idea that you're going to be doing all of these great things. You know, he didn't know what he was going to become. He just knew that he was going to step up to the plate and that he was going to make a difference. And in stepping up to the plate, he really became the face of an incredible movement. Every single time I think of Dr. King, there's one scripture that sticks out in my mind, and it is Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. It's the Beatitudes, and it's the particular one where Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount, and it is when he says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And as we think about Dr. King, we always think of how great of a peacemaker he is. But it's something really interesting that I don't know if we ever pay attention to this. Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." We all call ourselves children of God, but are we peacemakers? We call ourselves children of God, but Jesus said, the peacemakers will be called the children of God. Are we willing to be a peacemaker? Key thing, he didn't say peacekeeper. He said peacemaker. A peacemaker has to make peace. In order to make peace, you have got to be willing to walk in the chaos and the confusion in order to make peace. You don't get peace. You have to make it. And if you have to make it, you have to be willing to walk into confusion, disorder, and injustice. And that is exactly what Dr. King did. He stepped into the injustice. And I always stop and think, if we call ourselves the children of God, are we willing to be peacemakers? And if we're going to be peacemakers, we have to say, "I'm your child, Lord. I am going to step into the peace." Jesus told us, if you're going to be my follower, you have to pick up your cross and follow me. And if we are followers of Jesus, there's going to be a cross we have to pick up. And I can say this, if you want to pick up a cross, what better place to do it than the United States of America in 2026? What better place to pick up a cross and follow God? Now you got to understand this, that when you follow our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, you're not following a religion. And I think we get it twisted. We always think of church as being a religion, this organized place where you go and you serve. But church is its people. And the church is an organism. It is alive and well and moving. And so then as the church, we have to move and we have to be the people of God. So many times we always saying, Lord, and we get on our knees and we say, Lord, what are you going to do about poverty and illiteracy? What are you going to do about what's happening in Minnesota? What are you going to do about all of the wars and the hatred that's happening in this world? And God literally looks back at us and literally says, I didn't create the war. I didn't create the havoc in Minnesota, but I did create you. If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways, seek my face, then will I hear from heaven their prayer. I will heal their land. You have to be a co-creator in what God is calling us to do. He's saying, where are you? Where are my people? Don't ask where I am, because I gave you my word, my son, and my spirit. What are you going to do? I created you, and I gave you my son as your example on what you're supposed to do in this world. Let me tell y'all something. There's only one thing I am afraid of. I'm not afraid of much. I'm only 5'6", and I only weigh 145 pounds. I'm a little man with a big mouth and bald-headed, but I'm not afraid of too much. But one thing I am afraid of, and that is to die, stand before God, and he tell me, Barry, that was nice. Let me show you what you could have done if you would have had a little bit more faith and a little bit more courage. You don't need faith and courage in heaven. You don't need it when you're dead. You need it while you're alive, and you need it on the other side, on earth as it is in heaven. On earth as it is in heaven. God is like, I got heaven. I gave you all earth. That is up to you to make that difference. It is spiritual malpractice to say that you believe in God and that you believe that a virgin had a baby, but you cannot believe that it is impossible to do something about the hatred that's in this world. It is spiritual malpractice to literally profess the impossible and can't do it. My mother would give me for saying can't, but I said it on purpose. But it is spiritual malpractice when you do that. The other part that I think really makes God angry is if we die and we bring our gifts and talents back to him. And he will probably look at us and go, wait, what are you bringing that back to me for? I can't use your gift in heaven. I gave it to you for earth. I don't need your compassion or your activism or your courage or your faith in heaven. Don't bring that back to me. I gave you that for on earth. I gave you that for on earth. Our job is to do what God calls us to do. If we say we are his children, y'all, it's time to make peace. It's time to go into the chaos. It's time to go into the confusion. It's time to go into the disorder. We cannot sit back and say to ourselves, oh, that's Minnesota. Oh, that's Ukraine. Oh, that's Nigeria. Oh, that's Gaza. Oh, that's happening in Israel. That's all of us. Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat against justice everywhere. So our job is to be the people of God. When you're the people of God, you can't be comfortable as long as there is injustice. God did not create us to be bleacher Christians. We got to be on the field. We got to be on the field. It's uncomfortable to be on the field, but the cross of Jesus Christ was uncomfortable. To be doubted, denied, and betrayed was uncomfortable. Jesus gave up being comfortable and having a seat in heaven to take on the form of a human being, to come down in the form and fashion of a human being, to be able to say, let me show you how to do this. Let me show you how to do this. Let me be as human as you, but fully immersed in who I am as a child of God. I will walk into the chaos. I will walk into the confusion. I will take on the religious bigots. I will take on the bystanders and the people who think that they're supposed to be comfortable. I will take on the government. I will take on being doubted, denied, and betrayed. I will take on the cross. I will take on death. I will take on the punishment. I'll take on the crucifixion. But on the third day, I'm shaking all this off because I am the Son of God. And Jesus had the nerve to say, the same Spirit that's on the inside of me that raised me from the dead is on the inside of you. It's in us. God is waiting on us. We're not waiting on God. God is waiting on us because he said, you are my people. You are equipped and you are called, and I gave you the example, and I gave you my word and my spirit. Now, let me tell you something else that is so amazing. Was not only the work that Dr. King did, and the fact that doing all of this stuff that he did, he lost his mother. His mother was murdered. His house was bombed. His life was threatened. He was stabbed within an inch of his life. And yet, each time he got back up and kept going. No excuses, knowing that he was a peacemaker and a child of God, knowing that there is a cost attached to this, but there is no such thing as being comfortable while people are being discriminated against, lynched, hung, denied. We talk about civil rights, human rights. There is no way to get comfortable. And if you're going to be a peacemaker, you gotta go into the chaos. You have to go into the chaos and confusion. One of the things I found amazing is I saw this documentary that was on PBS that talked about the civil rights movement, and it talked about how organized the people were. And I saw all of these young people, so amazing, all of these young people and the way that they organized. And I saw when they were all getting on these buses, getting ready to go to Alabama and into the South, knowing they might die. They knew that. They knew that. And I remember a news reporter from CBS News asked this young lady, as she was signing her will at 21 years old, she signed her will. And the reporter said, why would you get on that bus if you know you may die? Why would you get on that bus? She said, because what's worse than death is to do nothing. What's worse than death is to do nothing. We cannot sit back at this time with all of this injustice and do absolutely positively nothing. I also believe too, because we have this incredible day of honoring Dr. King, taking the time out to be able to do this. I think Dr. King would probably be appalled if he just learned his day is just a day off, or a time when people can get the day off or get out of school and relax. This is not the time to sit down. This is the time to stand up. This is the time to be justice in action. This is the time when we become and be the people of God. This is the time that we say, not today. We've had enough. And in the same spirit, with the example of Jesus Christ, we can also use the example of Dr. King, who can look injustice in the face and say, I'll go anyway. Who can look death in the face, knowing he was going to be killed, and say, what's worse than death is to do nothing. That's worse than death. And we have to ask ourselves today, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? about what's happening today. And I know God is saying, everybody's getting on their knees praying to me. And God is like, I've already empowered you. I need you to stand, and I need you to be my people. Now, so many times we always think that we're not qualified and that we can't do this. But Jesus took 12 men with attention deficit disorder, not the brightest, not the best. Some of them, I'm telling you, were dumb as a rock, and they didn't put in an application to qualify for the job. He took them just as they were. He took these unqualified men and qualified them with on-the-job training and taught them who they were to be, because they were going with him and they were going with God. Those same unqualified men, with the exception of Judas, by the time Jesus died, they got it together and they became the organizers and they became the people of God. And they understood what their mission was on so many different ways. When we lose leaders who stand up, when they die, it's our turn to stand up. It's our turn to stand up. Let me say this. There's something else that's in my office, and it's in my office on purpose. There is a large eagle, and I got a bunch of eagles all around my office. And sometimes people come to my office and they say, Pastor Barry, why do you have all of these eagles in your office? And I'm looking right at the eagle as I'm sitting. Oh, I'm looking at another eagle over there. Okay, Lord, I got it. I can get this. And that eagle always remind me somewhat of a symbol as I think about Dr. King, because the Bible also talk about eagles. We always talk about eagle being part of being American, and it is the symbol of the bird for the United States of America. But eagle also to represent freedom. So I put eagles in my office because they represent freedom, because I think about it from a biblical perspective. Because the Bible say, I will mount you up on eagle's wings, and you shall run and not get weary, and walk and not get tired. On purpose, he symbolizes us close to an eagle. He symbolizes us close to an eagle. And the Bible uses the eagle to kind of represent the way God sees us. And so I just want to ask you a question. Do y'all know what the antagonist of an eagle is? Like for instance, if I was to mention something like the king of beasts is what animal? A lion. What's the antagonist to the lion? It's one animal's lions can't. Hyena. Lions can't stand hyenas. Hyenas can't stand lions. But a hyena can't beat a lion. But hyenas will gather up together to try to torment a lion. Do y'all know what bird can't stand an eagle and always try to go against it? Crows. Crows can't stand eagles, and they always try to antagonize a crow. That crow can't beat an eagle. But what happened a lot of times is, while an eagle is flying, a crow would literally get on the back of an eagle and peck at its neck. It's the craziest thing, to peck at its neck. Do you know the eagle is so brilliant? And this is part of the reason I believe God said, I will mount you up on eagle's wings. The eagle does not waste its time trying to get the crow off his back. It don't even waste its time on the crow. It never turned around and tried to get it. It was like, okay, I got something for you. The eagle begins to fly higher and higher and higher. It can fly higher than any other bird. The dumb behind crow don't pay attention because they're so busy antagonizing the eagle that it begins to suffocate at high attitudes. So the eagle go up so high, the crow begin to suffocate, looks around and it's like, oh shoot, I'm at an altitude and I can't breathe and I can't get down. So the eagle go up so high, the crow suffocates, fall to the ground and die. The eagle don't waste its time. Sometimes we can't waste our time on the agitators. God wants us to take it just a little bit higher. He wants us to go just a little bit higher. When you understand that you are an eagle and he has mounted you up on eagle's wings, and the fact that he is going to take you higher than you ever could imagine, don't pay attention to the crows in your life that make you believe that you can't do this. Don't pay attention to the crows in your thoughts and your heart that basically say that you are nobody and you can't do this thing. God is calling you out. There's a time when I believe God is calling us out. When we read the scripture in the Bible, so many times God is calling us out. He is calling us out to be able to do great things, to be able to do his work. And so then, therefore, I want to encourage you all to understand and know this. You are an eagle, and it is time to fly. There's some crows everywhere it is that you go, and there are crows who are causing all type of havoc all over this country and all over this world. But God is calling us out. And he's saying, I'm mounting you up on eagle's wings, and I will give you the ability to do what it is that I am calling you to do. And it is time for us to rise to the occasion. Also, too, when I think about Dr. King, I think about the fact that here is somebody who is able to see the value in every human being. Jesus Christ saw our value, and he stood with the marginalized. He stood with the outcast. He stood with everybody else wanted to put aside. But Jesus stood up for them. Jesus stood up for those who were on the outskirts, and he accepted them as they were, and he let them know in the eyes of God, they are somebody. He respected all human beings, and he respected the dignity of every human being. And that's what God wants us to be able to do. He wants us to be able to respect the dignity of every human being. And I just want to say this. What are you willing to die for? Are you willing to stand up for justice? And if you call yourself a child of God, Jesus calls you a peacemaker. He literally, Matthew 9:5. 5 and 9. Blessed are the peacemakers. They will be called the children of God. Now, I really do believe when I read that, it was almost like, Lord, are you calling me out? I know he called me out. I know he called me out and said, therefore, you, my child, you are a peacemaker. I need you to stand up. I don't need you to keep peace. I need you to go where there is no peace. And I need you to make the peace happen. In order to make the peace happen, yes, you're going to have to go into confusion. You're going to have to go into chaos. You're going to have to go into disharmony, and you have to be able to do this thing. And let me say this as nicely as I can. Being a pastor of the church, working with people in the church, you can be a peacemaker. When you have to deal with God's people, you can be a peacemaker. When you have to deal with all type of personalities that walk in the door, you can be a peacemaker. When you deal with people with however it is they come, you can be a peacemaker. When I came to Church of the Messiah in 1991, I had my hair. I had hair. This is the cost of peacemaking. This is the cost of peacemaking. So then, therefore, it's going to cost you something. And let me do this before I take a few questions. 7:39. I didn't do too bad. I know we're supposed to go to 9. Y'all better ask me a bunch of questions and participate in this, because I really don't talk this long. But I do want to give you a parable, because there is something that I love about Jesus. Jesus always told parables. So I'm going to tell you all a parable of the value of people, because this is what Dr. King saw, the value of people. And he wanted to make sure that the racist people in America understood he is standing up for God's people, because race is a concept that man made. God made us all, and he made us in his image. And it's not right when you get people who decide what image is better than another. But it makes me think of this story of this young man who lived in this village. And the young man was suicidal. And he decided he really wanted to take his life because he felt as though he had no value, because he was ostracized by the people in this village where he lived. But he thought to himself, I'm going to go to the chief elder, and I'm going to talk to the chief, and I'm going to ask the chief, because the chief is so wise, maybe the chief can help me find my value. The young man left his house, went to the outskirts of the village where the temple was, and he went to the chief elder, and he stopped and said, can you teach me my value? Everybody in this village treat me so horrible. I'm ostracized, and I don't feel loved at all, not even from my family. And the village elder told him, he said, yes, I will teach you your value, but you got to do everything it is that I tell you to do. But by the time I get finished, you will know your value. So he said, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to go behind the temple. And behind the temple, I want you to bring me a stone. He said, "There's a bunch of stones behind the temple. Which one?" He said, "It don't make no difference which stone you bring. Just bring me a stone, and I will begin to teach you your value." The young man went behind the temple and he looked. He saw all these stones. And he went and he picked up a stone and he took it to the village elder. And he said, "Okay, here's the stone." He said, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to get a little table, and tomorrow morning I want you to take this stone to the marketplace. Don't sell the stone, just tell me the value that somebody is willing to pay for it." And he said, "Okay, but I'll do that." So he got up the next morning, took a little table, and he had a stone. He put a stone on the table. People were selling food, they were selling clothes, they were selling baskets, they were selling all kind of merchandise at this market. And he's standing there with a stone on his table, and nobody's paying him no attention. Right before the market closed, this woman walked up and she said, "Oh, I got to go home and I have to grind up these vegetables and herbs for my family. That stone is the right size for me to actually beat up the leaves and grind it into a powder to make into seasoning. How much do you want for the stone?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. You give me a price." She said, "I'll give you $2 for the stone." And he said, "Oh, sorry, it's not for sale." And he took the stone and he took it back to the village elder because he told him don't sell it. So he went back to the elder and he said, "Hey, the stone is worth $2. He said, "Very good. Now I want you to get up tomorrow morning and I want you to take this to the antique store. Take it to the antique store and ask the person how much the stone is worth." So he got up the next morning and he took it to the antique store. The antique dealer looked at it, went in the back, got his wife. They both looked at it, came back. He said, "Young man, I'll give you $2,000 for this stone." Young man was like, "What? $2,000? Oh, I can't sell it." Took the stone, went back, and he said, "Hey, that $2 stone is worth $2,000. He said, "Very good. Now I want you to take it to the museum. Remember, don't sell the stone, just find out its value." So then the young man, he took the stone. The next morning, he goes to the museum and they look at it and they say, "We'll give you $20,000 for this stone." And he was like, "What?" And he ran back to the village the next day. The $2 stone is worth $20,000. He said, "Yeah, I want you to do one more thing, and I'm going to teach you your value. I want you to take this, go over to the next village. The auction will be there tomorrow. Put it up for auction and tell me what the stone is worth." The young man had on gloves by this time because that $2 stone was priceless. He didn't want to mess this stone up. He takes it to auction, puts it up for auction. The stone goes for $2 million. Couldn't believe it. And he couldn't believe he couldn't sell it. And he took the stone and he went back to the village elder and he said, "You won't believe this, but the $2 stone is worth $2 million. And the village elder told him, "Now I will teach you your value. You are just like this stone. You went and you picked this stone up, and you could have picked up any stone behind the temple because our village is on the diamond mine. Every stone in this village is a diamond. But the people in the village don't know it. So it's a common stone. But you found out the thing that you thought was so common and had no value. Every stone in this village is priceless. And you are part of this village, and you are like this stone, and you are priceless. Don't let anybody tell you your value is less than what it is you were created to be. You may not be shining, you may not look like nothing, but I'm telling you, these are unprocessed diamonds. And you live on a diamond mine, and you are just as valuable as these diamonds. Never lose your value. And then he told him, the stone that the builders rejected became the chief cornerstone and foundation of the building, which is the scripture. The value of the one that is marginalized, set aside, that everybody think has no value. In the eyes of God Almighty, in the eyes of Jesus Christ, it is priceless. In the same way you would never throw a diamond away, God look at us, the human beings of this world, all of us are priceless. And let me do one more thing if I got it. So Church of the Messiah don't pay me. I'll take a 50 because this ain't nothing. Give me a 50. Work better if it's 100. Somebody in here got a $100 bill? I'll give it back, I promise. Okay, let's do $50. Okay, so what is this? $50. Oh, okay. Okay, 50. Of course you can't see this. Okay, $50. Is it valuable? If I told you I'm gonna give you $50, would you take it? Yes. Yes. It's I don't care how much money you got. If you gonna give me 50, y'all all walk up here and say, Barry, I'm gonna give you $50. I will take it. If I had $1 million and you give me 50 more, I'm gonna have $1,050 because I will take it. So it's valuable. If you ball it up, what is a balled up $50 worth? If you take it and throw it away, what is it worth? If you step on it, what is it worth? If you pick it up and rip it, I ain't gonna tear it, what is it worth? And if you were to take it and make it dirty, what is it worth? It does not lose its value because of what it's been through. It is the same way with human beings. You might be crumbled, thrown away, stepped on, dirty. Your value is not lost. You can take this $50 and go right into Kroger or have a brand new $50. They will take it because it has equal value. That's how God made us. Equal value. That's how we're to see each other. That's the way Jesus Christ saw us. That's the way Dr. King sees us. That's the way we're supposed to see each other. It makes no difference. Gaza, Ukraine, Nigeria, Minnesota. Our value is the same. I don't care where you place us, where you put us. We are all valued in the sight of God. And if you were to take this $50 and put it in the gutter, I don't care what you're doing. You go reach down, get it out the gutter, unfold it, make it right, get some air freshener, put it on it, but you ain't gonna let $50 stay in the gutter. God don't allow his people to stay there either. And we're the children of God. We need to be willing to go into uncomfortable places to be the people. God, is this feeling too good? So let me just go ahead and give you that. God sees the value in all of us. Dr. King saw the value in all of us. And us being the children of God, the people of God, and when we say children of God, the peacemakers, we're supposed to see that value. And let me basically end with this one. Y'all send whatever questions y'all want to. Understand this. I'm calling you out today. I'm calling you out. Whatever shape you in, whatever condition you in, you're being called out. God is calling you to greatness. He is calling you to your power. He is calling you for something that you can do to add to the value of the people in this world. We're not spectators. We came to be on the field. We're not spectators. This is not a spectator sport. God called us to be on the field. God don't call the qualified. He qualifies the people who he called. And if you woke up this morning, you qualified. If you breathe in, you qualified. Whether you got here or not, you qualified. God has qualified you to be able to do something. What do you go do with your power? Never sit on your assets. He gave us assets. And his assets, his word, his son, his spirit. We have assets. Get off your asset and use your asset for what God has called you to do. And let me give you one more analogy because it's making me think about what I have to tell our young people at church. And I always tell them, in order for a man and a woman to create a baby, for us to be born, with the exception of Jesus, something miraculous has to happen. Man and woman get together, and you got to have a sperm and an egg. Sperm and egg get together in order to make us. I don't know if y'all know this, but on average, I guess it's safe to say this in church, but on average, a man releases 400 million sperm. 400 million. Population of the United States and maybe so in Mexico. And they all run with one purpose: fertilize the egg. All running for one purpose. Only one is going to get in, and then the rest go by the wayside and all die. Think about that. And they all go for one purpose. And it's amazing. One gets in, the rest die. About 9 months later, the doctor, I always say, should never say, it's a boy, it's a girl. You should say, and the winner is. And that's us. 400 million to 1. And you here. 400 million to 1. So the odds are you can do anything. You came in a winner. Don't leave out a loser. Be the winner God has called you to be. God is good. Okay, all right. A minute. Oh, not bad. It's 7:52. Not bad. I almost talked for a whole hour. That's amazing. That's amazing. I usually don't do that. The only other time I've talked this long was literally, I remember back in 2012, I was asked to speak at the Bright Ideas Conference with Dan Gilbert. So Dan Gilbert had this thing, it was called Bright Ideas. And it was all about innovation. And somebody called me from his office. And they said, Pastor Barry, we want you to speak at the Bright Ideas Conference. And I'm like, what is that? And they said, it's this place where innovation comes and all of these people go and they talk about innovation. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I'm a preacher. So what am I going for? And they said, it's going to be these CEOs and all these innovators. Okay, I'm a preacher. What am I going for? Because the work the Church of the Messiah has done, rebuilding the neighborhood, building the houses, creating the jobs, providing entrepreneurship opportunities, getting the kids in college. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, we have an 84-member marching band, which is a literacy program which helps kids get into college. The music is a front. They come in, they're high school students, they're going to graduate college. They don't know it. They love the music, and then we give them mentors, and we help them get through college. Over the past 13 years, over 400 kids have gone through that program in order to go to college, and we get them in on music scholarships. So we find very innovative ways to be able to help our people. So I go to this Bright Ideas Conference, shocked. I'm the only preacher there. It's me and these CEOs and all these tech people. And I'll never forget the woman, she took me to the podium and she said, okay, Pastor Barry, you're going to be up first. You can put your notes here. And I'm like, I never take notes. I don't have a script even when I preach. If you can't wing it, you ain't qualified. That's just my thing. But she said, and I'm like, I don't have any notes. And she said, so what are you going to do for the next 45 minutes? 45 minutes? You want me to talk for 45 minutes? She said, yeah, you got 45 minutes. I said, lady, I only preach for 15 minutes. I'm an Episcopal priest. Church is an hour. I mean, that includes communion, church, an hour. She said, Reverend Randolph, this ain't church. I don't know what you're going to do, but you got 45 minutes and you're going to look stupid in front of this audience that's waiting to hear you. And as God would have it, I'm thinking 5,000 people are at this thing. I go to the podium. I'm looking out. I could see nothing because all I saw was this great big bright light, which was in my face, and I can barely see. And I'm looking down trying to find the audience. And she was like, what are you doing? I'm like, where's the audience? She said, they're down there. I'm like, I can't see because of that light. And God told me, talk to the light. So I talked to the light for 45 minutes, but it worked. So this is the longest I've ever talked. Besides that, okay, all right, so yeah. And just in case you want to know, Church of the Messiah, 231 East Grand Boulevard, church is at 12 o'clock, and it is 1 hour, including communion. So it's 1 hour. Okay, questions, please ask me something.
Pastor Barry.
Yes.
We want you to know that we have plenty of time for questions. And Cesar Cuellar was a member of our Jesu family with his family.
Oh, wow.
Had to leave us to go to El Salvador for immigration purposes. And he, Cesar, is hosting the Zoom tonight.
Whoa. Wow. 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 Amazing.
So those online are free to ask questions. Cesar is going to pass them through.
Yes.
So, any questions here?
Look, if I can wing it for an hour with no notes, Well, I can tell you this much. What I would think Dr. King may think if he was here today, I really think he would think, where is everybody? Where is everybody? In the sense of, with what was happening in the civil rights movement, the thing about that was so amazing to me. Everybody gathered together. We had something in common, and everybody gathered together in order to make that happen. It wasn't easy, and it was a long process. That was years of people working and galvanizing, and it was black, white, Christian, Jewish, just young, old. There was so much organizing going on, and so many people working. I really do believe that he would probably think he was murdered in 1968. And then you stop and you think, what are we going into 60 years? Yeah, going into 60 years. And it's like, what, we're still dealing with this? We're still going, we're still dealing with, but where is everybody? Because there are times I think, and I think sometimes we're too quiet. There's too, yes, yes. And sometimes I really do think, if you're comfortable during a time of upheaval, I would kind of check my Christianity. Rarely do you see Jesus walking through the daffodils. It's always this thing of he was always on the move. Something was going on. And I don't mean that we should not enjoy life, this, that, and the other. It's just that there is an obligation and responsibility that we have towards working towards justice. And we don't all have to do the same thing. Everybody don't have to march, and everybody don't have to necessarily do that. But what are we doing? Are we even hosting and having conversations on what it is that we can do? We may not be in Minnesota, but what can we do in Detroit? What can we do about the injustices that go on? Everything is not necessarily race. And you got to remember this. A lot of people honestly and truly say Dr. King didn't get killed because of We Shall Overcome. Once he started getting off into the Poor People's Campaign and talking about money and talking about equality, that a lot of people is like, okay, that racial thing is one thing, but now you talking about the rich at the top oppressing the people at the bottom. There's more than one type of oppression. And so then therefore, they didn't kill him because he was nice. Just like Jesus, they didn't kill him either because he was nice. And I remember one young person during that time, I remember them saying, if you don't have anything that you are willing to die for, what are you living for? And I thought that was powerful. Okay, one down. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now, how am I going to get up here and not talk about gun violence, especially when Dr. King was a victim of gun violence? One of the things that we do with Church of the Messiah is work on the issue of gun violence. And back in 2008, we had 3 young people. This was so unusual. We had 3 young people in our community who were murdered in 1 year, minding their own business, doing everything right, but through no fault of their own, they wound up being murdered. And I remember after the second funeral that I had to do, and let me tell y'all this too. I know this might sound a little bit naive, but it never dawned on me that I would be burying children as a priest. That never crossed my mind. I was so looking forward to going and continue the legacy of Messiah, building the houses, educating the kids, rebuilding community and neighborhood. I was so looking forward to that. And then boom, I was burying children. I don't think I buried anybody over the age of 70 until 7 years in. Because so many times I was burying children that would die, and I just could not believe that I was burying children. And I don't know if y'all know this, the leading cause of death of children in America is gun violence. You know that? Not car accidents, not illness, guns. Totally man-made, totally curable. There is an epidemic in this country where we have lost our minds. We have honestly and truly lost our minds. The rest of the world, well, the rest of the world looking at us like we lost it anyway, but they're looking and saying, oh, so you're not even going to do anything about your children dying, going to school, in the street, going to the gas station, supermarket, and even in church, people get killed, and nothing is more important than our right to bear arms. So what if we bury a second grader, but your Second Amendment right means more than that? That is so ludicrous. Nelson Mandela said, you can judge a country by the way it treats its children. And God have mercy on this country's soul for allowing our children to be buried by something that is 100% preventable. But back in 2008, I promised those parents, I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do, but your children are not dying in vain. There will not be a statistic on somebody's desk or in a file, and that's going to be it. That is not going to happen. I didn't know what we were going to do, but we got 58 people together, and we said we're going to honor them every year. And that was during a memorial march, marching in their honor. Right behind that, it was bringing together the groups and organizations working to eradicate gun violence. So we did that. Now, that was for our community. We did that for Island View. Our community is named Island View. So we did that for that. Within a couple years, hundreds of people was coming to this thing because people was like, oh, yeah, Church of the Messiah is over there honoring people who died of gun violence, and they're bringing together and making solutions and, doing all of this work. And next thing I knew, it was 1,000 people. There was 1,000 people. And 1,000 people were showing up to our thing. And currently, we're in 34 towns and cities across the state of Michigan working to eradicate gun violence. So anywhere from Marquette down to Monroe, there is a Silence the Violence event working to eradicate gun violence. It's gotten so big that we started working with an organization that recently came about called End Gun Violence Michigan. And that was started, Ryan Bates, who is the executive director, called me and said, Pastor Barry, I know what it is that you're doing. I already spoke with your bishop. We got this idea. We're going to put together End Gun Violence Michigan. We want to help you with the work of Silence the Violence. And they did. Because of the work that we're doing, for the first time in 40 years, we had gun laws passed in the state of Michigan. Extreme risk protection, universal background checks, and safe storage. Those laws went into effect because we were working with our lawmakers, law enforcement, PTAs. We were working with everybody. We have got to do something about gun violence in this country. This is really stupid. This is really, really stupid that we are allowing this. And there's a very small minority group of people who have got this country by its, I'll say, throat. I was going to say something else, but I am in the church. And we are allowing this small group of people to be able to do this. Nobody's trying to take away anybody's gun. We're not talking about taking away people's right to bear arms. We're talking about taking away people's right to commit murder, which is a total different thing. So thank you for that, because I don't know how I didn't talk about that. And that is one of the passions that I have, that yeah, this is the people of God making a difference. And I can honestly and truly say, between the Catholics, the Episcopalians, the Lutherans, the Methodists, a lot of us we are really doing this work of being the voice of God when it comes to this issue of all this senseless gun violence. We're literally standing together. And I know one of the bishops, I believe it was the Methodist Church, who literally called out the entire, because all of his all of the congregants, when he was saying that we need not, if you are Methodist, do not put guns before people. Don't stand and believe that your Second Amendment right is more than protecting human life. Very controversial, but he did it. And I'm like, that's what a peacemaker is, going to the chaos. Be willing to be hated, talked about, ostracized, be willing to take the risk. You're going to have to stand in front of God, and he would be like, how come you didn't do something when you had the opportunity? You had the opportunity in a position to be able to do something. What are you going to do? So just thank you for that. Thank you, thank you.
Pastor Barry, one of our beloved community members, who is Buddhist, has put forward the idea that we should contact bishops, church people all over the country to stage an exorcism in front of the Capitol. What do you think of that idea?
Yes! Just the symbolism of that would honestly and truly be amazing. We have to be able to show we're working to be able to say to the people who feel like they have no hope, who feel like nobody's coming to help, that at least the people of God The people of God. We always call ourselves the people of God. I like that caveat that Jesus put. Peacemaker, I need you to deal with the chaos that is in this world. We have to remember, God didn't create the chaos. He didn't create the chaos. He created us. The problem is he gave us a free will. And with that free will, which is a blessing and a curse, we can use that for good or we can use that for evil. But when it's being used by the people who choose to use the evil, he's just saying, we're the people of good. Where's the people of good? And I believe there are way more people who have a conscience, who believe in doing the right thing. It's way more of us. It's way more people who will do the right thing. So I think I will be the first one to sign up. I will bring some holy water. I will bring it. I'll put my collar on. I'll never wear a collar. I will put the collar on. I will be one of the first ones out there. I will have my prayer book and my Bible, whatever is necessary. I will be out there. Y'all be like, who is that little black bald-headed man out there losing his mind? They would be like, that's a wonderful idea. Yeah. Oh, would you say what the question was again about doing the exorcism?
Yes,
Yeah.
whether you favor the idea.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes, the member of our community was putting that forward, the idea forward, and wondering whether the idea that we should get bishops, church pastors, religious people together to stage an exorcism in front of the capital, the nation's capital.
I'll do it. I will do it. If I'm out there, I will do it. I think that's wonderful. Yes.
Okay, Veronica, you've got your first member.
Yeah. The Spirit of Christ compels you. Yeah. Let's get it going.
Pastor Barry, welcome. I'm actually have the great privilege of being associate pastor here at JZO. I'm very glad that you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully come to pray with you all at Messiah someday.
Oh, yeah.
Noon.
Most definitely.
Maybe two questions. One is just when you talk about when Dr. King would maybe say, where is everybody? Ways that you found to help motivate people who are lethargic, apathetic, maybe even antagonistic. What have you found to help kind of stir the souls of people? And then a second would be, there are all these strategies or ideas, and we come in, and even people of goodwill who are all trying to head in the same direction might have different ideas about how to get there. If you can speak maybe a little bit to Dr. King, I know that was also a part of his life of working with people who are, on the same side, so to speak, but also had different ideas about how to move forward. So how to negotiate that with your fellow people.
Yeah, but one of the things I always love about Dr. King, and I think for most people of conscience, we're all human beings. It's speaking to people's humanity. And I think that was one of the greatest things that Jesus did. And I always tell people, too, that when it comes down to Jesus Christ, how we draw people is you speak to the humanity. Sometimes you can't get to people's spirituality because you got to deal with them being a human first. And I really do believe that that's why Jesus became human and dwelt among us, to know what it's like to be one of us, to know what suffering is like and what poverty is like and what sickness is like and what it is to be around different things. One of the greatest things that I love about the civil rights movement and Dr. King, I remember him basically saying something like, especially at that time, there's not enough black people in the country to do this by ourselves. This has got to be a humanity effort. This is going to take all of us. We're all going to have to get together to be able to do this. And I remember many times of watching Dr. King and those marching, especially when you would see them on the front line, and you would see those who were Jewish, and you would see those who were different nationalities. They'd all be walking together. It was the movement of humanity, because that's what it is that we need to do. We can't do anything alone. And I always pay attention to Jesus Christ. Think about this. I don't know if you ever thought about this. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, in a human form, didn't do it by himself. He went and got 12. And it was Jesus. If Jesus can go get 12, we ain't supposed to be doing nothing by ourselves for any type of movement. He went and got a team. So I really do believe that if we're going to make anything happen in this world that is supposed to be a movement, especially a conscious movement of changing the lives of people, we have to work in a team. If he can go get a team, that's what we're supposed to do. And I remember Dr. King basically saying, we can't do this alone. It's going to take all of us, and it's going to take the people of conscience. And I believe that that's how we got here, and that's why the movement was so successful. And that's why the movement is still kind of today. We got to keep moving. We have to. And I have to say this too, that before COVID, right before COVID, Church of the Messiah was growing. And I must admit, it was an act of God. And I must admit, I'm a damn good preacher. I know how to talk to the young people. That for a minute, our congregation was 60% of our congregation was under the age of 30. And we had ballooned up to 300 people from 41. And it was all of these conscious young people from different backgrounds hearing the call of what Jesus was calling us to do. And it was speaking to their humanity. All I did was take a playbook out of Dr. King's book, which was basically meet people where they are and in their humanity, and invite them to have their spirituality and their activism putting them together, because that's what they were attracted to. Activism with spirituality. This is our call. This is what God is calling us to do. And it worked. And that was a little bit of Dr. King's playbook. We can't do it alone. It's going to take a cooperative effort in order to be able to do that. And of course, you can come pray with me. But we may have to walk, because I have a hard time sitting for a long time. So you might have to walk around the church with me as we pray. So yeah, got too much energy.
Demonic forces that are operating within this country and who are really driving the supremacy and everything else that's negative in this country, how do you think he would react?
Well, I know one of the things, it never went anywhere. It was always here, but I really, I'm sorry. So the question was, what did I think Dr. King would think of the demonic spirits that's here today with all of the racism and the hatred that's out here today? It never went anywhere. It was just there. I believe it was more people of conscience who actually was working to do the right thing, make the right thing happen, and people of conscience stood up and did what was necessary. I always say this: the good people always outnumber. It's always a small group of people that actually, do these things, and you would think it's the majority, and it is not the majority. The majority of people have a conscience, and they're good people, and there's a few people who kind of do this thing. And it was so interesting for a while there. I was watching the country, in my opinion, really have this trajectory where I was really beginning to think, we're going to get there. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, one more time. Here we go. Again. Here we go. Here we go.
Um,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah,
I
and
just
okay.
even closer. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. I work across the street at University of Detroit University of Detroit Mercy in the ministry office. So I am a young person, but I also work with people who are even a few years younger than me. Um, for reference, I mean, some of them are in early middle school when COVID quarantine hit. So it's like a whole other generation. And a thing that I notice and that I try to keep in mind while I'm working there is a lot of people might have an interest in, yesterday we went and we packed together some stuff for elders in Highland Park, but a lot of people will see church, will see ministry, and will, young people particularly, and will go, oh, that's not the place for me, I don't belong there, that's not the place where I should go. um, I'm curious if you have encountered this in your work, and how you respond to it, and maybe some tips for me and my work as well.
Well, I can say this much. Um, in order to get people to their spirituality, you have to meet them with their humanity. And if we would remember this, one of the things that God told me when he called me, he said, go get my young people. They don't reject me, they just reject the package that the church put me in. So it was just a thing of packaging. The gift is Jesus Christ. The gift is the same. It is just sometimes people have a problem with the packaging. That was one of the reasons why I started a new service, which was more of a seeker service at 12 o'clock, because young people, they wasn't coming at 8. I don't care what you say, they were not coming to church at 8 o'clock. You make it at noon, that make it a little bit easier. And then we kind of did church with no frills. Get to the point, straight to the point. When I preach, it's straight to the point. Never from a text, never from the pulpit. Out among the people, meet them exactly where they are. I have a really good memory, so I memorized the Eucharist. I memorized the gospel reading. I want to talk to you. I want to look at you. I want everybody to be engaged, and that's one of the ways that it helped. But it also helped to be outside of the building. When you look up and you look up, the church owns my house. The church gave me the internet. The doctor's office is at the church. That marching band is over at the church. I'm charging my phone at the church. I'm always at this church. Let me go see what's in there. That happens too. So when you're so intricate in the lives of people that you show them who God is and they have an encounter with him. And sometimes the encounter comes from us. I have never knocked on anybody's door and ever said, come to church. Even though we own the neighborhood, I've still never knocked on the door and say, come to church. And even when we bring in your internet, because we do just like Comcast, Church of the Messiah, and we go in and we do your internet, but we don't even invite you to church. The work that we do invites you. The ministry is the invitation. So it's not from being on the corner, this, that, and the other. Because I always tell people what would attract me to a church is not the preacher preaching on the corner, but if you building the houses on the corner and they say built by Church of the Messiah, that's got my attention more than you standing there preaching. So because I'm seeing that what you believe is something tangible, I might get curious enough to be able to go in there. And anything is ministry. Let me share this story real quick, because we do accidental ministry. We don't mean it to be ministry. We do it because it's the right thing to do. We were coming back from Lansing, coming back from our convention, and we were driving through the neighborhood, stopped at a light, and I never forget our youth director was with us, and he's looking at the guys on the basketball court in the park, and they're playing. Of course, he would notice nobody has a water bottle. So he literally said, look at them outside playing basketball, and it's hot, and they're not staying hydrated. Now, me, I know how to pick up the cue. That means we go into the supermarket to buy some bottles of water to bring it back to them. That's what that meant. So we went to the supermarket, got a case of water, and we literally, I just got out the van, took the case of water, set it down and say, hey, fellas, stay hydrated, and got back in the van. We passed 2 more parks going back to the church. Got it. Let's get a couple more things of water, and we put it out there. This became a Saturday ritual to go to the supermarket and get cases of water and drop it off at the basketball court. Never saying, I'm Pastor Barry from Church of the Messiah, and we're from Messiah. Of course, our coach, who want to make sure every child in Detroit got what they need, Pastor Barry, we need to get them some pizza. Look, Terry, this is becoming expensive. So we literally got all these $5 pizzas from Little Caesars. So now we're taking water and pizza to the park every single Saturday morning. Turns into a ministry. Never do we say who we are. We had a funeral. I'm doing the funeral. After it was over, my phone rings. And I look up, I answer the phone, and it was like, Pastor Barry? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, who is this? This is Stick. No, what? I'm sorry, Stick? And then he told me what his real name was. I'm like, who are you and what do you want? Are you coming by the basketball court? Yeah, I'm sorry, we had a funeral today. I didn't come by. Yeah, I'll go to the supermarket and grab some water and bring you a pizza for you and your guys. And he said, when you come, don't leave. Stay for a few minutes. Okay, so I go and I do that. And then they literally stop and say, first I had to tell them, how do you know who I am? Well, that van says Church of the Messiah, so that went hard to figure. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, so what do you want? And then they said, so we just had a question. So do you have to be baptized in order to go to heaven? Let me go get my Bible. When I got my Bible, we had Bible study for 2 hours in the park, unsolicited, bringing water and pizza. So go get you some water and some pizza and go where some young people are and minister to them. That's sometimes easier than them coming to you. You go to them and take them what they need. Be present. And I always tell people too, how many times do you count Jesus in a building compared to how many times do you find him out doing? So sometimes spend a little time outside the building, because when God come back for his church, it won't be for Jesus or Church of the Messiah. It's going to be us. So then make it about the people and make ministry simple. It's actually simple. We keep expecting people to come in. 1965 was the last major year people went to church like that. So remember, you're the church. Wherever you go, you have the opportunity. Be ready all the time, because I can preach to you in the supermarket, the airport, on the airplane, at the bus station. That's how it happened for me. Really isn't in the church, but I've never said, come go to church with me. But I can say that to y'all because we're in the church. So yeah. All right, you had a question?
I just had a question that there's so much going on. So, like in Minnesota, and to a smaller degree here so far, until we get their attention, I'm sure. Doing all the things that you're talking about, it helps to build our community over time. But those people are getting imprisoned right now, and they're getting, thrown into countries right now where they've never been. It's kind of hard to just say, well, we can just, go and talk to ICE or do whatever. And I don't have that in me. I'm sorry. That's not the way it's supposed to be. I know, but it's just really hard to say, well, we're just going to keep building and building, and hopefully, the last 100,000 will be able to stay here, but the other, 2 million got thrown out. So how do you? I mean, I agree. I thought everything was going well, and we were starting to make progress. So it was good to keep just building what we were doing. But now it seems like it's crashing, and we got to respond to that crash without destroying everything else that we built. And I don't know quite how to do that.
Well, the interesting thing is maybe you don't have to do everything. There is part of this where others will be able to pick up on, because my thing is I don't intend to go to Minnesota, but I can do something in Detroit. I can make sure that the people here are okay. I can work with people like you all. I mean, you all are coming out on a Tuesday evening. It's cold as Alaska outside. And you could have decided to do anything else, but you decided to come here. There are small steps, things that we can do. We can support in so many different ways. One of those ways could be to send money, call legislatures. There's different things that you can do, but it is the thing that you think about, how can I organize? And sometimes, because I guarantee you, stupid cannot be contained. It spreads. So it ain't gonna stay in Minnesota, it is going to go other places. So that's why we have to stop and think, what would we do if it came here? What would we do if the challenges and the issues came here? Let's not wait for it. Let's organize for it. And then let's see what it is that we can do. But it is working within your community, people who feel the same way that you do, organizing them. How can we support? How can we help? Because during the time of the civil rights movement, I was studying, looking at the different ways that people supported. Because back then, especially like if you leave in Detroit and you go into Alabama, you can't stay at a hotel. So there were people who said, you can come stay at my house. You can't go into the restaurant. So there were different people who was packing food so that the people can eat, because it was all of these issues where people stop and say, I may not be able to get on that bus for you, but I can pack a lunch for you. I may not be able to protest with you, but I can at least allow you to be able to stay at my house. There's different ways that we can stop and think about what is it that we can do that can actually help. Phone calls make a big difference. Working with the people that's in your community and neighborhood, finding the other people who think just like you. There's so many different ways to be able to do this. It may seem small, but it's one of the ways that you can do something. And so, yeah, we got to. I appreciate your question. because that's what it is that we have to think about. And during the time of civil rights, you have to stop and think. Black people couldn't stop. Oh, let's get off the bus and go eat. And this thing, you couldn't do that. So how did they eat? How did they go to the bathroom? Where did they stay overnight? What happened to them? If they even couldn't go to the hospital, that thing was organized from Detroit all the way through. There were different stops, different people working. It was a machine. But it was created out of necessity, because the thing about it is we're human beings, and there were different people who actually helped along the way. And all of these were not black people. There were different people who were actually doing this. It is going to take everybody. And let me just say again, stupid does not get contained. It spread. It don't stay in one spot. It don't stay in one spot. So stupid coming to a city near you. If we don't do something, it's coming to a city near you. How close are we?
Personal question.
Mhm.
What is your personal prayer life like?
Okay. So I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. I don't care what time I go to bed. I'm getting up at 4 o'clock every morning. And I love to get up before the birds and the sun and all of that. Early really, really works. Nobody's sending you emails. The phone does not ring at that time. That is the perfect time for me and God. And just so you know, I talk to God all the time. There is no time I'm really not talking to God. That can be washing the dishes, on my way to work. Well, I actually work in the church and I live in the church, but walking from my apartment to my office, which is like 50 steps, it is still this thing of constantly being in communication with God. Everything is an opportunity to be able to talk to Him, and I'm always talking to Him. But I have my own little ritual that I do every morning. About the first half hour is me literally laying in the bed with the lights on, and that is the beginning of my conversation with Him. And then I get up and I have a regular routine. I run 5 miles a day. I got so much energy. I can run a power plant if you put me on the treadmill. But it is about me taking the time out with Him every single day. It is that time of morning that I really like to be able to do that. And I can honestly and truly say God talks to me back all the time. Most of the time I don't like what He tells me, because it's always something where I need you to do this thing. And I always stop and say, can't you get somebody else? And His thing is, I got somebody else, but I need you to do this particular thing. I think being in communion with God is the greatest thing. And my prayers are never rehearsed. I don't do anything like open the Bible and do a prayer, or do my red prayer book and do a prayer. No, that's me and God, and the conversation is really, really raw. There are times when I wake up and I kind of tell God off, and because He's my Father, He can take that. Then He tells me off back. I've never won an argument, but it don't stop me from doing it. But I'll always get an answer on what to do, who to call. So if, like for instance, if I call Tyrone and it's 8:30 in the morning, I had already talked to God, who said call Tyrone, because Tyrone is going to help you do this thing. And I have a lot of crazy off the wall ideas, and they all come to pass. So, but yeah, 4 o'clock every morning is just about my time. And then when it's time to go to bed too. And then the weird thing about it is, if I got to get up and pee, I'm talking to God. I'm always talking to God. It makes no difference what it is. I'm always talking to God, and it is wonderful. I know He's real. I know He exists. I know He's on the inside of us. And I know that this world is not our home, so we don't need to get too attached to anything. I also know that one day we're going to be dead, and we're going to be dead a lot longer than we ever were alive. So it is this thing where you better make it count while you have the time to be able to do it. And my thing is, He is telling me, and I always try to tell somebody, you're going to be dead for a long time. Make it count while you can. This is your opportunity. And when you get to that other side, there's going to be an account. But I don't mean this awful thing is going to be. I believe God is going to be proud of a lot of us. But yet and still, I think we might be a little bit shocked of how powerful we are and don't know it. I think we're way more powerful than we are. We just don't know it. If you were to ask Dr. King or tell him when he was a little boy, you know, when you grow up, your house is going to be firebombed, your life is going to be threatened, you're going to be stabbed, your mother's going to be murdered, you're going to have to walk the front line, your church is going to ostracize you, you're going to be put out, you're going to be public enemy number one once you stand against the Vietnam War. Most people are going to turn against you. You're going to be hated, you're going to be listened to by the FBI and the CIA. All of these things are going to happen to you. Okay, Martin, are you ready? No, you would never agree to that. But in a weird kind of way, that's what we're all kind of signing up for. We don't know what it is God has planned for us, but we don't know how great we actually are. We don't know how great we actually are. And I think we're all great. We just don't think about it. We don't need to all be Dr. King, but we all need to be children of God. We're just peacemakers.
First of all, thank you for giving us a really nice explanation about everything connected with that Dr. Luther King and the situation we've been facing this time. So my question is, what will be for you the words of the moment that the system back then decides this is enough, this guy need to be killed? What was exactly the moment of words that make the system or few people say, you know what, this guy need to disappear of the earth? Because since Dr. King started the movement,
Mm-hmm.
people maybe say, oh, this is another crazy guy,
Yeah.
that maybe he's going to be here for a little while. Don't pay attention. It's nobody.
Yep.
But it took time to they wake up and say, you know what? This is not really something. This is nothing. This is something that it's reach changing
Yes.
the things. And that is my question for you on um, reflection. What might be the words or the moment that they say it's enough? What he did it that really make them kill him?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact reason of what was the thing that made them decide it's time to take Dr. King out. But one of the things that I know that I've read, a lot of people were saying the civil rights movement was one thing, but part of that movement was evolving when he was doing the Poor People's Campaign. And you had black, white, and everybody else who was ostracized, who was like, hey, he's making a point that part of this is economic. And when it got down to part of this as being economic and the movement grew so big, that's when I believe that they were really thinking about this man has got to go. And what's amazing to me, Dr. King was only 39 years old. He was only 39 years old. Wasn't even that old. And already the work that he did and what he created was a movement. When something becomes a movement, a lot of times people believe if you take the leader out, the movement will die. The thing though with movements, movement becomes more than one person. Of course, you have the figurehead, but it begins to spread and it still continues. So it makes me think a little bit of Jesus. Yeah, Jesus got killed. Of course, we know he rose, but his disciples stepped up to the plate. Those crazy off the wall ones, they eventually got it right. They stepped up to the plate. And I think God is telling us to step up to the plate. But to answer your question, I really do believe that once he started talking about the economics and started also planning the Poor People's Campaign, which was coinciding with the March on Washington, it became more than just about racial reconciliation and racial justice. It became economic justice too, that became part of the movement too.
Little side note to that, because that is my generation. I went to Vietnam in 1967.
That got him in big trouble.
June 20th.
Vietnam. He was right about
But
Vietnam.
listen, the real big driving force, and it was everything that you said, but more importantly than that, and always remember this, they talk about the military-industrial complex. Money, billions of dollars are made on prosecuting wars. I'll never forget, as long as I live, that the thing that was said when they were asked the question, why are we in Vietnam? To stem the flow of communism. That was their story. But it was really about money. But going back to something that you talked about earlier, which was taking ministries outside of the walls of these buildings and churches, and our ministry being out there amongst the people. Over a 2-year period, a few years ago, I have a favorite restaurant, which is Olympics Grill down on West Warren between Cass and Woodward. And there was a lady that would sit out there every day panhandling. And people were actually afraid of her because she was a real large woman and she was dealing with some
mental illness,
mental health issues.
Yeah.
So I started out just giving her loose change, and she would be out there like clockwork every day. I called that my cheers because everybody there knew my name. And sometimes she would come in the restaurant and she would be panhandling. Okay, that's very disruptive. So anyway, over the course of that whole summer, I started just giving her a $5 bill. She knew anytime that she saw me,
she was getting
give her a $5 bill. The transformation that first summer and going into that next summer, you wouldn't believe. She could never remember my name, but she would call me Mister. She would say thank you. And I mean, it was just amazing. I have another client that I'm working with right now. He sits outside of a restaurant in Eastern Market. And I'm trying not to talk to him real long out there because it's of the weather, and he's out in the elements, but I just feel like in my heart that one day when the weather is nice that he's going to open up to me, because I never ask him any questions. It's none of my business if you don't want to volunteer the information. But he's very mannerable. He says thank you, praise God, and I mean it gives me a good feeling to know that here's a total stranger that for whatever reason and whatever brought him to the place where he is right now, that, there's somebody out here that will care about you.
Yes. And also, too, if we would literally stop and think about, like, for instance, this event, it's called Beloved Community. This is Beloved. And God said, here's my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. I think God also says that with us. And when you build a community based on love, love is what you do, not how you feel. It's what you do about how you feel. And it is all about the action of how you feel about a thing and how you feel about your fellow man. It becomes something contagious and amazing. So even coming together as the beloved community, to me, is just amazing. And I ain't trying to be funny. When you asked me to come, because it said beloved community, I can do that. Because it is just the fact that we are the people of God. And anytime we get together and be the people of God and have an opportunity to be able to do that, that is extremely powerful. And we need to think about our power. As the people of God, we literally need to think about that being our superpower, that we have something that we get the opportunity, and it's a privilege to take it to the world. It's a privilege to be able to serve. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to stand. It's kind of crazy. It's going to cost you something. But Jesus said, if you are my followers, you have to pick up your cross and follow me. It's going to cost us something. But the reward is greater than any cost. It's the most amazing thing. It's the most amazing thing. The power that we have is just incredible. And if we would concentrate more so on that power. And I know right now as you scroll social media and you look at the news, you would stop and think, all hope is lost. No, it's not. And sometimes we have to stop and think. A lot of times we look at the bad news, but do we spend just as much time with the good news? The good news of Jesus Christ, the good news of the scripture. And understanding this too, this world ain't our home. We're not going to be here. We were not created to be just on this earth. We are God's people, and we're eventually going to go home. This ain't it. God would not create all this confusion. But we got a free will, and there are some people who feel as though it is their whole thing to create confusion. Everybody also, too, don't do things based on love. And everybody, I'm going to say this, and I hope y'all understand this. I probably should have said it at the very beginning. You know, you watch those infomercials in the middle of the night. The views and the impression and the views and expressions coming from this commercial endorsement is not that of its station or its advertiser. I probably should have told y'all that first, because one of the thing is everybody don't act like God's children. You have to agree to be God's child. You have to agree. It's a reverse adoption. You have to agree to be God's child. So yeah, for the children of God, he's talking to his people who are called by his name. And he's talking to us. So yeah. Okay, y'all, I've talked enough. This is the most I've ever talked in my life. It's the most I've ever talked. And I love to talk, not this much. So, but a wonderful conversation. I'm honored to be here. I'm so honored to be here. I'm loving what's taking place. I love this beloved community, the beloved people of God standing up to be able to say, hey, this is what we're building and what we're creating. Consider it to be a privilege because you could decide not to do that. But when you stop and say, I am going to choose to be on your side, Lord, I think that's when God is pleased because we're choosing him. And you don't have to have all the answers. You don't need all the answers. But God will use you. And the next thing you know, you'll be up talking for 2 hours. And God is good.
We could listen to 2 more. Pastor Barry, you can tell how much we appreciate all you've shared with us.
Yes.
We wish we had more ways to thank you, but one way is to take up, we've decided as a beloved community tonight to take up a free will offering, and Pastor Barry has requested that offering be used for the Church of the Messiah, for all the programs.
Yes. We got a ton of programs. We need our building. We got incredible people. And right now we have a campaign where we're really building out our roof. I don't know if Dan and Vicky remember the roof days, but we always got a problem with the roof. And just so you all know, back in 2021, this has never happened. The church was flooded. We had 5 feet of water coming to the building during that big rainstorm where we got 6 inches of rain overnight, the most Detroit has ever gotten in one day. And we had $862,000 in damages. But oddly enough, we found out we had flood insurance. And it actually allowed us to redo our basement. Soon as that happened, then the roof started leaking. And so now we're working towards the roof. So either way, but all of this will allow us to be able to do the work that we're doing. But it will help us repair our roof. And we had a real good, generous donation from one of our friends at Christ Church Cranbrook who made a donation of $25,000 towards the roof. He literally came to church and said, what you all do is amazing, and just made this incredible donation. So, yeah. So that was amazing. So he's helping us get there. So, yeah. And we will get there.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. And all honor and praise goes to God, because that's who this belongs to. All honor and praise go to God. Oh, please, yes. Thank you. And thank you for your question. Thank you.
Well, we've marched in your gun violence.
Oh, so you've been to one of them. Yes. It's June 6th this year.
Okay.
It's
great.
June 6th.